Hey guys, what up, what up? Welcome back to an all new episode of Criminally Focused. If you are new here, welcome to the channel. My name is Desiree, and on Criminally Focused, we talk about unsolved homicides and missing people. We talk about cold cases as well as current cases. However, I do always try to cover stories that might not be as well known, kind of in an effort to push the story out there and help families that might be falling under the radar. A lot of times, I actually hear about these stories directly through family members who have posted online looking for help from the public. From there, I try to find out as much information as I possibly can. Sometimes I reach out to the families, and once I have enough information, I present it to you guys. Today's story takes us back to Colorado. And I know I've been covering a lot of stories out of Colorado lately, and I promise I'm not doing it on purpose. It's not because I live here. I've actually been trying to do a lot more research and broaden my research to find cases in other states. But the other day I was scrolling through Facebook and I came across a post from a family who is desperately asking for the public's help. Today we're going to be talking about a 34-year-old man named Paul Aragon from Aurora, Colorado, who hasn't been seen or heard from since April 30th of 2025. So as of this recording, we're going on almost 60 days. Paul's family is literally living a nightmare right now, day after day, with no answers and absolutely no idea where he could be. And for whatever reason, they're searching basically by themselves without law enforcement's help. So, like all cases that we talk about, I'm going to ask for your help spreading awareness. And at the end of this video, we're going to go over ways that I think could really make a difference. So like the usual, sit back, grab whatever you're drinking or smoking, and let's get right into it.
Information this morning, a missing man from Aurora, his truck found in Broomfield with his dog still inside.
34-year-old Paul Aragon lives in Aurora, Colorado, and he works in construction. From reading the posts online and the articles that have been written, I can tell that Paul is incredibly loved. He's got a big family with lots of siblings and is described as kind of like the funny guy, someone who is the life of the party, always trying to make everyone laugh. Paul has a daughter who he very clearly loves and is always in contact with. I'm not sure of her age, but I can tell that she's old enough to pretty much understand what's going on. And I'm just guessing, but I'm sure she's feeling pretty lost, not knowing where her dad is. On April 30th, Paul had plans to meet up with his boss in Aurora. However, allegedly, he canceled, telling his boss that he no longer needed to meet up and instead, for whatever reason, is thought to have met up with someone to pick up tools in Broomfield, Colorado. And if law enforcement knows who this person was that Paul wanted to pick up tools from, they haven't released it to the public. However, Paul's family has said he isn't known to have any connections to Broomfield. And Aurora and Broomfield, they're not super far away, but they're not super close either. We're talking about like 24 to 28 miles, obviously depending on, how fast you're going, but it takes about 30 minutes or so to get from Aurora to Broomfield. And it is believed that April 30th is the last time Paul spoke to anyone. Then fast forward 2 days later, on May 2nd at around 3:15 in the morning, the Broomfield Police were driving around patrolling and they noticed that a black truck, I believe it's a Dodge Ram, was parked in an empty construction site near the Wood Springs Suites Hotel. When they drove up to get a closer look, they noticed that there was no driver inside the truck. However, the lights were on. The truck was running and a dog had been left alone inside. The next day, May 3rd, the police went back to the truck to check on it. And this is when they noticed that the truck hadn't moved, the driver hadn't returned, it was still unlocked, and the dog was still inside. Upon further research, they found out that the truck belonged to Paul. And when they couldn't, get a hold of him, they brought his dog to a nearby shelter in fear of its safety. And then somehow the shelter was able to get a hold of Paul's family. And from there, this is when Paul's family learned that his dog had been found in his abandoned truck. So, just some background information. Paul is super close to his mom, and he normally speaks to her daily, if not every day. So, for her, going days without hearing from him probably already felt pretty abnormal to her. And then, when the family found out that Paul also hadn't been in touch with his daughter, they also found that to be incredibly out of character. However, when they found out that Paul's truck had been abandoned with all of his belongings inside, including his dog, I'm sure this is when things started to get incredibly scary for them. For this, I'm sure they probably just figured Paul was an adult and he was out living his life. Sometimes time just flies by. The shelter was able to give Paul's family the location of where his dog had been found inside the truck. So they drove out to this construction site and found that Paul's truck was still there. For unknown reasons, Paul had recently begun living in his truck. So literally everything important that he had been left behind inside. Things like his phone charger, which his family has said he is known for always having on him, just left behind. Almost as if he willingly left, he didn't plan on being gone for long. And just a side note, the reasoning of why Paul was living in his truck is unknown. And I think it's not only not really any of our business, but I also think it's important to just not judge something that we don't understand. I mean, who knows? It might have been due to financial reasons. He had a really nice truck with probably not so nice of a car payment. And in case you didn't know, Colorado is incredibly expensive to live. What I can tell you is that Paul, although he had allegedly struggled with substance abuse in the past, he had just finished a long-term recovery program in February. So I'm honestly just asking that you be respectful in the comment section. Homeless or not, sober or not, he's still a human being, still a good person, and someone who, in my opinion, is worth fighting for. So I just wanted to give you a heads up. Any rude comments are going to be deleted as soon as I see them, and the users will be blocked. Ain't nobody got time for that. All right, back to the story. When Paul's mom learned that he also hadn't shown up for work, she filed a missing persons report on May 8th. The CBI then issued what is called an endangered missing person alert, which is a notification system that's used by law enforcement to send out information about a missing person who they think is in danger. Basically, the goal is to inform the public as quickly as possible about someone that they want people to keep an eye out for. But if they actually sent out an alert to the public, if it was sent to the Denver metro area, I can tell you it wasn't sent to me. I never received an alert on my phone about Paul's disappearance. After finding Paul's truck for almost 2 weeks, the family drove by every day to check to see if he had returned. And as we know, sadly, he hadn't. The truck remained parked in the same place, untouched, until Friday, May 16th, when it was towed away. So let's now talk about the search effort. From what I know, the police searched the area by drone and by foot, but they allegedly found nothing. They also reached out to a nearby hotel and they confirmed that he hadn't been a guest. From there, though, I'm not exactly sure if they've done anything else. On May 25th, around 9 a.m., people gathered in the area where Paul disappeared in an effort to search for him. The search wasn't organized by police, though, and instead it was completely organized by his family. A Facebook group has also been created by Paul's family called Find Paul Aragon, which has allowed them to communicate with more people in the area and get help. As I said earlier, that's how I found out about it. People have been generously donating their time, hanging up flyers, and I know that at least one company has helped with the search by providing their scent dogs. During the search, as far as I know, nothing was found, and there really hasn't been any public updates, at least from law enforcement, since. His family, however, has remained very active on social media. And man, if anything ever happened to me, I sure hope my family would fight this hard. It's so heartwarming and heartbreaking all at the same time. So let's go over Paul's description. I'm going to throw up some more pictures of him on the screen, but Paul is a Hispanic male, 34 years old, between 5'6" and 5'7", and weighing around 165 pounds. He has black hair and brown eyes. Some distinguishing features are a koi fish sleeve tattoo and the words EST 1991 on his collarbone. And that's really all the information that I have for you guys. So what are my thoughts? Well, first of all, I think that this is honestly heartbreaking, and I am praying that Paul is found safe. I just feel so sad for his family. I read online that this is not the first heartbreak that they have experienced. I guess not long ago, Paul's family lost his older brother, and then right after lost their granddaughter. And now they're dealing with this. It's just incredibly sad to me.
Paul's mom, Louise, his dad, John, and the rest of the family are holding on to hope because it's a pain they can't bear to go through again.
I don't know how we do it. You know what I mean? I don't know how we do it, but if you ever lost a kid, you can't get over that. But we lost two, and now God has us. He has us.
Sorry.
It's all right, baby.
His sister Jonice says Paul stopped answering his phone on April 30th.
It didn't really hit me too much until, after maybe the next few days when they said she still couldn't get a hold of him.
Broomfield Police say they first spotted Paul's truck early in the morning of May 2nd near a construction site off of Edgeview Drive. The engine was running, the lights were on, and his dog was inside.
And it's just sitting there.
And he's just nowhere to be found.
Even after the articles that I've read and watching all the videos online that I could find, I still have a ton of questions. What's the reasoning behind law enforcement's lack of assistance? Are they even doing anything behind the scenes? I know that sometimes law enforcement keeps what they're doing in the investigation a secret for obvious reasons, not wanting to get anything out to the public that could mess up their investigation. However, I also know that, in my opinion, anyways, sadly, a lot of times people who struggle with drugs or have a criminal history, when they disappear or when they're murdered, police don't seem to take it as serious. They just toss it up to, well, they did drugs. Maybe they walked away and overdosed, which I think is pretty fucked. And I really hope they're not looking at this situation that way. Can't law enforcement look into Paul's truck data? I asked ChatGPT what type of truck Paul drove, and it told me it was a Dodge Ram, 2019 or older. And those newer cars, they've got GPS data in like a black box or however it works in their system. So I know for a fact that law enforcement could look into this and figure this out. Or how about the cell phone records? Have the police looked into this? Did he have Life 360 possibly? Or has family checked Facebook messages? I honestly have no idea what happened to Paul. But what I can say, what common sense can say, is somebody just doesn't drive to some random spot, park their nice vehicle, leave it running with all their stuff inside, unlocked, and their dog inside, and just walk away from it, planning on never being seen again. It just doesn't make sense to me. If we look at some brief possibilities of what could have happened, let's look at the drug angle for a sec. Okay, so what if Paul had relapsed and, God forbid, had walked away from his truck and relapsed? His body would have been found. And why wouldn't he have gotten high in his truck versus walking outside where he could be seen by other people? If it was a drug deal gone bad and somebody pulled up next to his truck, then they either harmed him, or if he did get high and overdosed, this person obviously has hidden his body someplace, making them criminally responsible. And honest opinion, I think they're completely responsible for his death. And I'm hoping they're caught and that Paul's family gets justice. But, like I said, Paul could still be out there. And if, for whatever reason, he has left and is afraid to come back, if for some chance that he comes across this video, I just want to tell you, Paul, as somebody who has a lot of knowledge about recovery, I can tell you that relapses happen. They suck, but they happen. And it's not about making a mistake. We're all human. We all make mistakes. It's about what we do after we make this mistake that makes all the difference. If you relapsed, your family will understand and they just want you home. And if somebody's watching this video and you know something, please say something. You can anonymously report your tips to the Broomfield Police Department at 303-438-6400, or you can email bpd@broomfield.org. Any tips help. So what can we do to help? Well, if I'm able to, I'm going to include a PDF link in the description box of this video, just with a missing persons flyer that I kind of created. It has all the same information that other missing person flyers out there. I just wanted to be able to provide something for you guys that you can print. And if you're in Colorado, go post someplace. Go hang it at the gym or at your grocery store. You never know who's going to see it. I've also left a link in the description box to Paul's Facebook page, Find Paul Aragon. You can go ahead and go hit like and follow that page to find out, more up-to-date information. You can follow me on social media where I will put updates on Paul, as well as, if you want, hit subscribe, and updates will also be available in my community tab. All right, guys, that's all I have for you. Thank you so much for watching this video. I am praying for Paul's family. If there is anything else I can do and you happen to know Paul or his family, please let me know in the comment section. I would love to do as much as possible. All right. Until next time, guys, stay safe and stay focused. Bye.